Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. So this is a video that has been on my list for ages, probably since October. This January I'm kind of getting to some videos that I had missed just with things having got in my way and not having been able to do certain rec videos that I wanted to get to. So I'm going through my journal where I keep track of all of my video ideas, and I'm backtracking to some that I missed. And one of these that I meant to film way back, like we said, like in October, was romantic suspense or romances with a suspense element. Now, I want to be clear that all of these that I'm sharing are romances. So I'm calling them romantic suspense just to kind of get the idea. But these aren't just suspenseful books with a romance in them, except for one. Like there's one book that I love the romances so much. So even though the suspense plot of it is a bit more of it, I still included it in this. But all the rest of them are a like romance novel that is suspenseful, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're gonna go through this, and I was really excited about it because one of the books that I reread in October was one of my favorite series when I was a teen, and it's so interesting to me when I share it because it's very clear the kind of like TV shows and things I was into based on this recommendation. And this is actually the, what is this series even called? I don't know if it really had a name. It was just called a Suspense trilogy by this author. But the series was See No Evil, Speak No Evil, Fear No Evil. And my favorite book in this is Fear No Evil, and this is what I actually reread in October. I listened to the audiobook for the first time because I didn't read audiobooks back when I read these, but I actually read like everything Alison Brennan had out at that time, and she writes a lot of FBI thrillers, and these ones particularly, like her books follow the Kincaids or the Kincaids, and in her like older books, it was about like a different sibling. And then eventually, and why I loved this book so much is that the younger sister of the Kincaids, like she is like 10 years younger than her youngest other sibling. She gets kidnapped in this book, and she's kidnapped by this online predator who puts women in live snuff films where they get murdered at the end of it. And because this sister survives, so like there's an HEA in that way, this romance is actually between her older brother, who is a psychologist, and Kate Donovan, who is an FBI agent who's been chasing this man who has kidnapped Lucy. But Lucy actually joins the FBI and becomes a like profiler and investigator, and there's a whole series by Alison Brennan that focuses on Lucy. And at the time that those books were coming out, I was still reading some of this, and so I read a few of those before I kind of fell off of reading romantic suspense. So these are all about serial killers. Usually there is like sexual crime involved. So this really spoke to my love of SVU when I was a kid and Criminal Minds. I liked those shows way too much, and actually Criminal Minds, it has a season on Paramount Plus right now, and I just started rewatching, and it's part of the reason why I wanted to make this video now, because I was like, oh, I'm so into that. But anyway, so yeah, this one is pretty dark. Of the ones I'm sharing, this probably has the lower on the spice amount, but these are still really great books. Again, I really loved the audiobook for this. I don't know if I'd heard of the narrator before. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, these probably are on the 1.5 on the spice scale. But they definitely fit into like dark romance trigger. Like there is a lot of triggering things in this because they are you know, crime novels. But like I said, this is the only one that is not like, it is categorized as romantic suspense instead of romance with suspense. And that's this one, but I just had to recommend it because it just has a special place in my heart. Now, the next recommendation I want to make is really the only one on this list that fits into kind of a mafia category, and I'll tell you how in a minute. Because obviously for romantic suspense, I could put a lot of mafia in this video because quite a few mafia romances have a suspense element in it. You know, they'll have kidnapping and crime or murders happening, but you know, as we know around here, mafia is kind of its own place in my heart, and so I wanted to recommend things that don't fit in that. But a book that I also read in October that has ties with the cartel, but I also wouldn't fully call it a mafia romance. I don't know. But I enjoyed this book so much. It was very dark and had a very like intense aspects to it, so I want to be very wise in like recommending this one. But I read Call the Coroner by Avril Ashton. I did also read the follow-up novella, which was just as twisty and dark as this. But this is about a cartel boss who his wife was murdered, and he had an attempted murder against him to the point where his attacker was garroting him and had like almost killed him. And now it's been quite a few years, and he has actually tracked down that assassin who is a gun for hire. Like, he didn't have anything personal against this guy's wife and him. He was just hired to kill them. And Daniel is the name of the man who's getting revenge, and Stavros is the name of the man who was an assassin. And so in the beginning, he is getting kidnapped by Daniel, and Daniel takes him to his torture chamber and wants to torture him for having killed his wife. And while they're doing it, they become extremely attracted to each other. And Stavros is, I think he's bisexual. And while Daniel was observing him and trying to find the time to, you know, kidnap him for his nefarious deeds, he had seen him interacting with some of his lovers and was already a little intrigued. But, you know, revenge is on her mind until he's actually in his clutches. Now, this involves Daniel actually doing some horrible things to Stavros. Like, he is torturing him. But in between all the torture, he starts to fall for this man. And it becomes more the case of, like, who sent him to kill your wife and you? Because he may have been the weapon, but he wasn't the, you know, person behind it. You were just a job to him. So I do recommend. This one was very dark, like I said, very heavy. So now we'll switch to something that is still heavy, but not in the same gratuitous fashion that Call the Coroner is. And there is The Lotus Palace by Jeannie Lin. This was a historical suspense romance, in my opinion, that takes place in, let's see, what century was this? But it takes place in China, where is the dynasty? I thought it said it right on the back. The Tang Dynasty, China. So this is 9th century China, and I had never read a historical romance set in that time. And we read this book for the Rake Appreciation Society, and it was just so unlike anything that I'd read before. And I definitely want to read more Jeannie Lin. I actually have bought a few more of her books. And these managed to be a beautiful historical romance as well as have a crime that is needing to be solved. And we have kind of this privileged man named Bai Huang who ends up scooping Yu Ying into him trying to solve what happened to one of the courtesans at the place where Yu Ying works, because he's getting blamed for being responsible for her death, and he didn't do it. And Yu Ying, like, he gets her to help. That's all I want to say about it. So this was a case of one where, like, I did not know how this romance was going to work out, because she's considered a fallen woman. He already has someone he's supposed to marry. Like, in this time, in this place, you just didn't marry for love. It just wasn't what you do. And in fact, our hero is actually from a family where one of his siblings is from his father's mistress. Like, his father has a wife and he has a mistress, and it's just accepted. Like, everyone's just okay with it. And it's very interesting to be immersed in a culture that's different from your own, as well as there still is this beautiful romance that's happening. And something that I love in this book, and I love it whenever I see it, but I really loved it in this one, is that Yu Ying only sees her body as a commodity and something people want to take and buy. And when there is the first love scene, well, the first sex scene between Bai and Yu Ying, it's very clear that she feels like she's supposed to give it to him. And the way that he reacts to that and she reacts to that are very different. And the way that he wants this to not be a transactionary thing is very different for her to deal with. But yes, this also has the suspenseful element because we're trying to solve this mystery. And it was, again, unlike anything I'd ever read before. And it wasn't comfortable or usual, but it still had an HEA that was beautiful. And I want to read more of this author because she really took me on a journey that I wasn't sure that I wanted to be on. I'm going to do another historical series real quick before we move on. And I think this series is actually called like the Tang mystery series or something. Like the whole series is like mysteries too. So another series that I would consider romance with a suspense element is actually the Deception and Discipline series by Golden Angel. It begins with A Season for Treason, and as the title suggests, there is a traitor that is going on, and these young gentlemen who, of course, there is a sex club involved because it's Golden Angel, but there also is a traitor, and they're trying to discover who it is and stop them from trying to take out the Prince Regent. And through it, there is this woman named Evie. Now, her book is actually the last book, but Evie, her uncle is a spy master for the crown, and she is trying to also help discover who this traitor is. And in doing that, she kind of wraps her friends up in helping as well. And so, yeah, there is a traitor, a courtship, a scandalous season. So there is, spies and danger and betrayal, and it was really fun. This series, all the audio books are on AnyPlay. I believe I got them all on AnyPlay. Well, at least the ones that were out at the time. These first 3 were on AnyPlay. So I love it because Golden Angel is an exclusive to Amazon, which means there is a chance for other people to read her at better deals. So I really enjoyed this. I was able to read an advanced copy of A Season for Treason, and Golden Angel actually sent me a couple of these, so it was really great. I was really lucky to get to do that, and they were definitely fun, and of course they were spicy. There's BDSM in pretty much all of Golden Angel's books, and the series is called Deception and Discipline, so there is some domestic discipline that goes on, and I like it. It's nothing severe, but it's definitely like, you've been bad, it's time for you to have a spanking, and oh my, I really like that spanking type of things. So moving along, we have one that involves a female serial killer, and that is Black Sheep by Brynne Weaver. I think this actually has 2 authors as well. I'll put up the cover, but I forgot to write the second author down here as well. But this was one that was highly recommended by a couple of my friends, and it has a lot of kinks that I really like, so it has showed up in a lot of recommendation videos that I've done, because when I make my kinky specific videos or taboos, it shows up. But this one involves this woman who, she had been raised in a cult, and now she murders like people who hurt people through cults, basically. But she is also an academic, and in the beginning of this, she's trying to get a job. She's trying to get into a program to help her get her doctorate, and the man that she is supposed to like try to get the job with, he kind of fucks up because he had seen her before their interview and he thought she was really hot. And then when she comes in for the interview, he doesn't pay attention because he's thinking about her so much and he really messes it up. And she's super annoyed with him. And so we get a little bit scared because we're like, oh no, is she going to kill this person in revenge? She's not that irrational, even though she does think about it sometimes, because she's like, I could just kill this guy and make it be over. I could just make it all better if I just whacked him. But he knows that he messed up. And he made her feel like because she was a woman, he wasn't paying attention. He didn't do that purposely, but like that's how she takes it. She's like, the men never take me seriously, which is partially true. So he goes to one of his colleagues and he's like, hey, this woman's ideas of what she wants to do is very good and I messed up. So will you please reach out to her and give her a position in your department? And then also she'll be working for your department. And so maybe I could still get a date with her. So he doesn't know who he has welcomed into this department, and she now has her eye on him because of how he had pissed her off, and so she starts stalking him a little bit, and she finds out some things about things that he likes sexually, and she's very intrigued by those things, and so I really liked where this went then. So this one, like I said, it has a lot of kinks in it. There is primal play. There is pegging that happens in this. It's so good. Our hero is just very sexually open because he is dominant, but he also will switch. Like they both are switches. And so, but she's never tried that before because she usually will play the demure woman so that she can kind of be a Black Widow scenario, hence like the black sheep. But she's never had someone where she could be so sexually free with. And so she's in this position where she needs to use him for the information because he is a forensic psychologist, I should also say that, as well as a professor. And so she wants to use him for his access to be able to find more cult members to murder. But she is just shocked by how free she's able to be with this man, and she doesn't want to lose that if and when she reveals who she really is to him, who works for the FBI and should maybe turn her in for the fact that she's murdering people. But again, I had a really good time with this one. It was so wild and wacky and very hot, and the kinks that were in it were great. And it also, you know, this is the one that, like, if you liked the Mind Fuck series, you may really enjoy this book. It's good. Okay, then I'm very excited to mention my friend Ashley's series. I specifically really liked The Taste of You for fitting into this one because the first one is more of like an arranged marriage and it's not as suspenseful. But The Taste of You, you could also read first. The way that Ashley explains it, you can read either book 1, The Sight of You, or 2, The Taste of You first. But once you are going to go past the second book, you need to read them in order because there are like cliffhangers going on. But Ashley has just started publishing her books this year, and I'm very impressed with her progress she's made already. So this series she's currently working on, her Census series, she has 3 books out in it so far and 3 novellas that go along with it. And these books are specifically, the second one is very suspenseful, and we have a heroine who is a murder baby as well. She is killing bad men. She's a vigilante. But the thing is, her father has put a guard on her to protect her because they kind of like know that she's into something she shouldn't be. She's also a keyboard pianist. She's a hacker. That is what like her division of her family's company works on, is like the internet security and like things like that. And she gets her kicks by tempting people in because she can look very innocent. She makes herself look very young, and she will tempt these bad men to her and murder them. And so her guard or the person who sent a spy on her, he gets very turned on watching her murder these bad guys. And so he's not exactly reporting to her father everything that she's doing, but he does follow her at night when she does it to make sure she stays safe. So, and one of these times when she murders someone, she realizes someone's watching, and so she gets a little bit exhibitionist about the murder that she's doing. So, All right, then we have, and I just love showing this book off because I'm pretty sure there is like a printing error with this, but when you look this book up, you can go and do it. You will see that the Amazon dimensions of the book say that it is 8 by 11. Okay, so there is this beautiful book, which I'm so happy I finally have a copy of. And my friend Bree sent it to me for Christmas. But the book is larger than my head. I went and looked it up. Okay, right? This is the normal size of a book. And this is the book. I don't know why Kenya Wright has the size set at 8 by 11, which is the size of a regular piece of paper, instead of like half of that even. I mean, I'm not mad about it because this is a very unique gift to get. But yes, also this is a book that I love and it has images inside. I still don't know why that would mean it would need to be this big because you can put images inside of a smaller book. I mean, Anastasia has it. But anyway, let's talk about what the book is about, because if you get the Kindle copy of this, it will still have the beautiful pictures inside. And this is a woman who's on the run from her husband. She has 3 kids, and like, I think it's like Christmas Eve, she stumbles, like their car breaks down after they've escaped from her abusive husband who is like attacking her and her kids, and they're on the run, and they stumble into Yoshiro's life. And now he has actually escaped the crime world. He used to be an assassin for the mafia. But they were going to make him kill a woman and child, and he said no. And in retaliation, they killed his wife and child. So he left that life, and he's been living as a recluse. And no one can really fuck with him because he is the best at what he's done. And when this woman and her 3 kids end up in his life, I love this. It's so cute. It says she becomes a Christmas present that he's dying to open. And so he has 2 dogs named Salt and Peppa, who the kids just love. And he becomes a savior to these 2. To this family of 4. And he just wants to bring them into his life. Does she have 2 kids or 3? Now I don't remember. Anyway, either way. And I just really loved how this book played out. So yeah, if you get the book, I highly recommend. I don't know if I do recommend getting this physical book because this isn't going to fit on any of my shelves, but I do love having it. Oh, this one doesn't have the art there. Let me find it. But like part 1, act 1 has art. And then the art gets very spicy in the back half. Like once these 2 start doing it, let me find one that's spicy, but not like too spicy. Here we go. There's like this kind of art in it. And this was the first time I'd seen that outside of a fan fiction. You know, I hadn't read Anastasia yet. It wasn't out yet. And I was just reading this book and I was like, oh, there are naughty pictures inside, which was why I wanted a physical copy. And I got this textbook, which again, how unique is this? This is so unique. But anyway, this is very suspenseful because the husband that she ran from, he's actually a police officer. And so nobody believes her for what's happening. Also, her husband is white and she's black. And she's afraid of losing her kids to him. And also, the even bigger pain in this is that her mother is on her husband's side and just believes that she should give him a chance. And it's pretty rough. But this is a beautiful story of redemption. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I highly recommend it. And it's a good time. Then I have a little novella to mention, and this is another one to read if you like the Mindfuck series, but it's a female FBI agent and a vigilante serial killer who is killing dirty cops, but he's getting a bit big for his britches. And then we have our heroine, Evelyn, who is an FBI agent, and she has a partner, and they're trying to catch this guy. And things get interesting when an advisory agent shows up to help Evelyn with her case. And he may be a little more involved in everything than we think. So I listened to the audio for this. It was only a 4.5-hour audio. And I hadn't read any of Lillian Lark's contemporaries. I'd only read some of her monster and like paranormal romances. So this was really good. It was a good, quick suspense, and Evelyn actually has some interesting kinks that she's into that she tries to keep hidden because they wouldn't be becoming of an FBI agent to have, but they're pretty fun. So this one actually has some bondage, it has rough sex, some risky sex involved, and a serial killer, so be prepared for that. And then the last series that I have to mention, which again, this series is another reason why I wanted to make this video, and I actually reread these books in December, and it was the best thing ever. And that, of course, is the Son of the Survivalist series, which I've been seeing quite a few of you pick up because I haven't stopped rambling about this series since I read it in July. Yep, the covers aren't the best. Yes, these books are not available in Kindle Unlimited. I know that that will make them unavailable to some of you, but I highly recommend when you have a gift card for Amazon, or if you saved it, like if you Kindle and you have some Kindle points that you're saving up, that you do these. Because here's the thing. Number one, we want to support authors who aren't in Kindle Unlimited when we can, because Amazon has a chokehold on so many small authors that it's the only way they can do it. And so even though it makes it difficult to recommend these books because people don't want to try them when they have to pay full price, just start with this book, okay? This one, like all of these, have the suspense element in them. This is about a small town in Alaska and 4 brothers who are adopted brothers. They're all from troubled past. They were adopted by this survivalist named Mako, who basically kidnapped these kids from foster care, but they were in a very dangerous place, and he kidnaps them and takes them to Alaska. They all agree to go with him, by the way, where he helps them grow up to be men. He gives them skills, he helps them. And now when this series starts, Mako has died, and he's left his boys with a commission, with a last wish, that they would help revive the small town of Rescue, because it is not doing well. And Mako was always someone who lived on his own. But in the last years of his life, he came to realize how much he needed a community and how much he thought the town of Rescue deserved to have that community. And so his boys basically own a lot of the town, because Mako, when people wanted to leave, when they wanted to go back to the lower 48, Mako would like buy their land from them. And so he owns a lot of the businesses, and he's now left those to his sons. So there is Gabe, who gets asked to be the town sheriff. He used to be an LAPD officer, which nobody in the town knows really who these men are. So they think that he's just a city slicker who's there to be their sheriff and has no idea that like he grew up there. They just never saw him because he lived in the woods. So he gets asked to be the sheriff, and he agrees only to do it for 1 year. We'll see what happens there. Then there's Lethal Balance. This one is about Cazador, and he is a nurse practitioner, I believe is what it is. And so he basically is the medical help in this town. He has a small clinic, and he's really the only thing between them and like a bigger town, needing to like airlift people out. His book, he finds out that he has a daughter who the mother of his child, like he never found out that he had her. So he never planned to be a dad, and he gets a kid when she's already like 8 years old. I should say who the women are. The women in that one is actually, she is a police officer who gets hired to help Gabe run the town. The heroine in this one is actually on the run from a group who wants to kill her for information that she knows. And so she picks the smallest town on the map she can find, and she picks Rescue Alaska. What do you see? This one is about Bull, who actually owns a bar in town, and he is this big live personality. And our heroine, her name is Frankie, and her BFF and her 4-year-old godson are actually they've ended up in a cult that lives nearby. And so Frankie is in this town undercover, and she ends up at a server at Bar's restaurant because she's trying to find her best friend and her godson. And then Soar High, this is about Hawk, who is our most damaged brother. He has a lot of trauma as a kid. He has been a military guy and a mercenary, and he is also a pilot, and he gets brought into the series, and he's very much against how many like people are being brought into their lives. He doesn't really like that, but he's been like softened through the series, so I love that. So by the time we get to his book, this is his book. And then Kit, who is the friend that Frankie goes to rescue. So these books, you do need to read them in order. You read through the whole journey. If there is an Audible sale, that is when I got all the books on Audible. I got them each for like $3 or $4 when Audible had their series sale. I highly recommend the audios, and I recommend you read these in order, because you go from Gabe, who doesn't want anything to do with this, to watching these men build a family and build a home and build a town to be proud of. And the way that the town distrusts them in the beginning but becomes a community by the end, like, it's so heartwarming. And there's suspenseful things. Like, there is battles that happen, and there's fights against this cult, and there is like, just, it's all the feels. So I highly recommend. I will never stop talking about this series. I love it so much. So there you go. Those are some books that are romance with a suspenseful element, or romantic suspense, or suspenseful romance, whatever you want to call it. I hope you'll give some of these a try. I think some of these can be very cozy for the wintertime, especially Sons of the Survivalist or Redemption. These are very cozy books. Or maybe you'll just add them to your list to read next October. That's just fine. Like I said, I wanted to make this video. I didn't want to save it until next October. Because yeah, there we go. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you want more recommendations. I have a recommendation playlist with over 200 videos for all different tropes and topics, and I highly recommend, if there is a trope or a topic, even some of the kinkier ones, I've probably made a video about it, and you can check it out. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.